Hello. If you've been with us, you already grasp a radical idea. Your identity isn't a fixed, linear thing. It's a fluid, quantum field of potential. The person you are today isn't your destiny, but simply the version of you that has collapsed into reality because of your consistent, focused attention. We explored the physics of identity, the idea that your life is a blueprint, and you are the one holding the pencil. But knowing this is one thing, putting it into practice is another. Today, we go from theory to tangible action. We're going to talk about the single most powerful principle in personal transformation, a principle so profound it feels like a secret hiding in plain sight. We call it the catalyst effect.
In chemistry, a catalyst is a substance that creates a powerful reaction but is never consumed. It's the spark that sets off an explosion, the unassuming key that unlocks a massive, complex door. In your personal transformation, the catalyst isn't a grand Herculean effort. It's not the month-long diet or the year-long training program. It is the single, ridiculously small, almost laughably easy action that, when executed, ignites an unstoppable chain reaction of change. This isn't a theory, it is a law of the universe, and once you understand it, you'll never look at personal change the same way again. This video is your guide to finding your own catalyst and igniting your transformation. The biggest lie we tell ourselves about change is that it requires immense willpower. We believe we must force ourselves to go to the gym for an hour, write a chapter every day, or work on a business for hours straight. We assume transformation is a constant, grinding battle. And because the energy cost of that battle is so high, most of us never even start. We are paralyzed by the perceived effort, but a catalyst changes everything. It works by lowering the energy needed for the reaction to occur, making the grand, overwhelming action not just possible, but inevitable. Think of it like this. Your personal change is a rocket ship. The launch requires a tremendous amount of energy, a struggle against gravity. Most people fail because they try to launch the rocket using brute force and willpower. But a catalyst is the rocket fuel, the tiny spark that ignites a chemical reaction so powerful it effortlessly lifts the rocket out of the atmosphere. The transformation isn't a fight against gravity, it's the natural, inevitable result of the catalyst. So how do you find your catalyst? It begins with a quantum audit. You must first know where you are. Be a detective of your own mind. What is the one thing you most want to change? Your health, your finances, your relationships, your creativity. Once you have that one thing, you must identify the very first, very smallest, non-negotiable action that would cast a vote for a new reality. The action must be so small that you can't say no. It must feel like cheating. If you want to become a morning person, your catalyst isn't to wake up at 5 a.m., it's to set your alarm for 5 minutes earlier. If you want to become a reader, it's not to read a book. It's to read one sentence. If you want to become a disciplined worker, it's not to work for 2 hours. It's to simply open your laptop. The power of the catalyst isn't in the action itself. It's in the simple, undeniable fact that you did it. You prove to yourself that you are the kind of person who follows through. That tiny surge of confidence is the real ignition point, the spark that lights the fuse. Before you can find your catalyst, you must go deeper. Many people identify a goal, like losing weight, but they don't ask themselves why they want it. Your quantum audit must get to the root of your desire. It's not about the goal, it's about the identity you're trying to collapse into reality. Ask, what is the true desire behind the desire? Is it not just about being in shape, but about feeling strong and capable? Is it not about starting a business, but about feeling a sense of purpose and financial freedom? Go beyond the surface. This audit reveals the identity gap, the space between who you are today and the person you are becoming. For example, if you want to be a writer, your current identity might be a procrastinator who wishes they could write. Your catalyst is the first step across that gap, the action that closes the smallest part of that distance. In doing so, it proves to your subconscious mind that the gap is bridgeable, making the next step not just possible but inevitable. Your catalyst is the single point of action that turns a distant desire into a tangible, repeatable process. This brings us to the first pillar, the ignition point. This is the specific moment, the specific action that triggers the chain reaction. It's a physical event that says to your brain, I am committed to a new identity. It's not enough to say, I'll work out more. The ignition point must be specific. When I get home from work, I will immediately put on my running shoes. Or, after I make my coffee in the morning, I will immediately sit down and meditate for 1 minute. Your brain is a creature of habit. It thrives on triggers and rewards. The catalyst becomes the new trigger, and the feeling of accomplishment becomes the new reward. This is a crucial distinction. We are not using willpower to fight a battle. We are using a catalyst to start a new, more powerful feedback loop. The initial action is almost effortless, but the reward is immense. The reward isn't the finished product. It's the feeling of having taken a step, the feeling of having followed through. This small, powerful feeling of victory is the dopamine hit that fuels the next step. It's the rocket fuel that makes the entire launch feel effortless. The emotional proof that you are becoming a new person. The second pillar of the catalyst effect is quantum stacking. The moment you perform your catalyst, you've created a tiny spark. But a spark without fuel is useless. Quantum stacking is the process of building on that initial spark by adding a series of other tiny, easy-to-do habits. This is where the compounding effect comes into play. You've already done the hard part, you've ignited the reaction. Now you simply flow with the momentum you've created. For example, your goal is to be a healthier person. Your catalyst is to simply put on your running shoes. Once the shoes are on, the energy cost of going for a walk has plummeted. You're already wearing the gear. It would be a waste not to go. So you take a short walk, maybe just around the block. That's your second micro ritual. When you get back, you feel good, the momentum is building. So you make a simple, healthy snack like an apple. That's your third micro ritual. Each action is small, a logical, almost effortless next step from the one before it. The entire chain was ignited by that one single decision. You didn't rely on willpower to do a workout, to go for a walk, and eat a healthy snack. You simply relied on a catalyst to get the ball rolling. The power of quantum stacking is that it removes the need for motivation. You aren't waiting to feel motivated to go for a run. You are simply performing a catalyst. The momentum from that catalyst will carry you through the rest of the chain. You are not fighting your identity. You are simply aligning your actions with it, creating a system of effortless change. You're not trying to push a boulder up a hill. You're simply giving it a gentle nudge and letting gravity do the rest of the work. To truly grasp the power of the catalyst effect, we must look inside your brain. Your brain has two primary operating systems for action. The first is the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain. This is where you make conscious, deliberate decisions. It's the part that says, I want to get in shape. This part of the brain is powerful, but it's also incredibly energy intensive and prone to fatigue. This is where brute force willpower lives, and it's why most attempts at change fail. The CEO gets tired and hands over control. The second operating system is the basal ganglia, the factory floor of your brain. This is where habits live. It's responsible for all the things you do without thinking, from brushing your teeth to driving a familiar route. It operates on autopilot, requiring almost no conscious effort. The brilliance of the catalyst is that it bypasses the overworked CEO and directly engages the factory floor. The action is so small and easy that the prefrontal cortex doesn't even have time to object. It's just a simple movement, and once the basal ganglia performs that small action, puts on the running shoes, opens the laptop, it creates a tiny positive feedback loop. This sends a dopamine signal to your brain that says, that felt good. Let's do that again. The catalyst is a mental hack that uses your brain's own reward system to build new habits without relying on conscious effort. It's the ultimate form of strategic laziness. We talked about the universe responding to your new frequency. Let's make that tangible. Your brain has a part called the reticular activating system, RAS. The RAS is a filter for your reality, constantly scanning the world for information relevant to you. For example, if you decide to buy a new car, you suddenly start seeing it everywhere. The car wasn't just invented, your RAS has simply been activated to notice it. The catalyst effect works on the same principle. When you consistently perform your catalytic action, you signal to your RAS that this new identity is important. You are turning on a new filter. Your eyes will suddenly notice a flyer for a yoga class. It will highlight a post about a new creative tool. You'll overhear a conversation about a business opportunity. These were always there, but your old operating system was filtering them out. By creating a new frequency, you are literally changing what you see in the world. The universe responding isn't some mystical event. It's the natural, inevitable consequence of your own new attentional focus. You are not just changing your actions. You are changing your perception of reality itself. You will not always feel good. There will be days when you are sick, exhausted, or overwhelmed. On these days, the temptation to quit will be overwhelming. This is where the 0-day rule comes in. The rule is simple and non-negotiable. You never have a day with zero effort. This doesn't mean you have to do your entire quantum stack. It means you must perform your catalyst, and only your catalyst. On a day when you're tired and stressed, just putting on your running shoes is a win. On a day when you have a creative block, just opening the notebook is an act of mastery. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to maintain the streak. The 0-day rule protects your momentum from the inevitable fluctuations of life. It's the ultimate form of mental resilience. It teaches your brain that you are in this for the long haul. A perfect streak is a beautiful thing, but a streak maintained through sickness, resistance, and doubt is an act of monumental self-sovereignty. It's proof that you are not a prisoner of your feelings. You are the one who is creating your reality, one tiny catalytic act at a time. Our society is obsessed with efficiency and productivity. But this mindset is a poison to personal transformation. We need to embrace the principle of sacred inefficiency. This is the act of doing your catalyst, not for a desired outcome, but for the sake of the act itself. It's about being present in the process. For example, a writer's catalyst is to open their laptop. A productive mind would say, okay, now I must write at least 500 words. But sacred inefficiency says, open the laptop and just stare at the blank page for 5 minutes. The goal isn't to be productive, it's to simply engage in the sacred inefficient act of being a writer. It's about building the muscle of presence, not the muscle of productivity. This is the secret to consistency. When you remove the pressure of outcome, you remove the primary reason we fail. If the goal isn't to be a perfect writer, but simply to sit down and be with the writing, then you can never truly fail. The act itself is the win. This is how you outsmart your own perfectionism and stop self-sabotaging. You are casting a vote for a new reality, not demanding a perfect result, and you build the most resilient habits. When a habit is tied to an outcome, a perfect workout, a perfectly written page, it is fragile. It will break the moment you can't achieve that outcome. But when a habit is tied to an act, the act of showing up, the act of being present, it is unbreakable. It can withstand the storms of life, because the victory isn't in the outcome. It's in the courageous, sacred, and gloriously inefficient act of doing it anyway. The ultimate application of these principles is the creation of a life that is not just successful, but deeply meaningful. The physics of meaning is an often overlooked aspect of this work. Your personal identity is not just a collection of habits. It is the central narrative of your life, and human beings are hardwired to seek meaning. For a long time, you may have been telling yourself a meaningless story about who you are, but when you begin to consciously sculpt a new identity, you are not just changing your habits. You are creating a new narrative. You are creating a story of a hero, a creator, a person who is taking responsibility for their own reality. This new narrative is the ultimate source of motivation and meaning. When you are living a meaningful story, you don't need willpower. You are not trying to force yourself to do things. You are living in a state of constant, inspired action. We all have a version of ourselves we want to become. A version that is healthier, more creative, more present, more successful. For a long time, that version of you has felt like a distant fantasy, a ghost of a possibility. But that version of you is not a ghost. That version of you is a quantum reality waiting to be collapsed into form. It is waiting for a catalyst. It is waiting for you to perform the one tiny non-negotiable action that says, I am ready. The beauty of the catalyst effect is that it is not about a grand finish line. It is about the simple, undeniable fact that you showed up today. It is about the deep, quiet satisfaction of knowing you are living in alignment with the person you are becoming. The finished product is a beautiful thing to see, but the real power is in the process. The real transformation happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you choose to put on your running shoes, when you choose to open the notebook, when you choose to take the one small, insignificant action that will change everything. This brings us to a final, crucial point, the concept of an inevitable breakthrough. This is the moment when all your small catalytic actions reach a critical mass, and the transformation you've been working toward becomes a sudden, undeniable reality. Think of a boiling pot of water. The temperature rises 1 degree at a time, seemingly without effect. But then at 212 FV 100 C, there is a sudden and complete change of state. The liquid turns to gas. That is a breakthrough. It wasn't a single magical moment, but the inevitable result of a long, consistent process. Your transformation is no different. The tiny catalyst of reading 1 sentence a day will, after enough time, lead to an inevitable breakthrough, where you suddenly realize you are a person who loves to read, and you've finished a dozen books. The small catalytic actions of saving a few dollars a week will, over time, lead to the inevitable breakthrough of financial freedom. The cumulative effect of your small daily efforts will, without fail, lead to a massive, nonlinear jump in your reality. The problem is that most people give up right before the breakthrough. They see the linear progress. 1 degree, 1 page, $1 at a time. And they get bored or discouraged. They don't realize that the nonlinear exponential breakthrough is just around the corner. They get to 21 and they turn off the heat. Don't do that. Don't turn off the heat. Trust the process. Trust that the small catalytic actions are building a momentum that is not visible on the surface. You are laying the groundwork for a complete and total phase change. This is the beauty of the 0-day rule in action. When you commit to never having a day with zero effort, you are committing to never turning off the heat. You are committing to a future breakthrough. The breakthrough is not something you hope for, it is something you build. It is the inevitable result of your consistent catalytic actions. As you embark on this journey, there is one more essential element to consider: the power of the witness. In quantum physics, a particle state is only determined when it is observed. Until then, it exists in a field of pure potential. The same is true for your personal transformation. The person you are becoming, the healthier, more creative, more disciplined version of you, exists in a field of potential. The moment you begin to witness this new identity through your actions, it begins to collapse into reality. But this isn't just about self-observation. It's about the power of the social witness. The moment you declare your intentions to a trusted friend, a partner, or a coach, you are giving your new identity a new form of energy, making it real in the eyes of another person. This creates a powerful feedback loop. The social witness can act as a mirror, reflecting your new identity back at you. When your friend says, "You've been so consistent with your writing lately," they are reinforcing your new identity as a writer. This isn't just a compliment, it's an act of co-creation. You are using the power of others to solidify the reality you are building. You are no longer alone in this process. You are part of a shared, co-created field of potential. As powerful as these tools are, they come with a hidden danger: the temptation to become obsessed with control. We become so focused on the catalyst, the stack, and the streak that we forget the larger purpose. This is where we introduce the principle of generative surrender. It's the final piece that separates the grinds from the masters. Generative surrender is the act of letting go of the outcome once the catalyst is set in motion. It is the deep trust that the process itself will lead to the breakthrough. The catalyst effect is about igniting a chain reaction, but true mastery is about stepping back and letting that reaction unfold. Think of it like a gardener. The gardener's catalyst is planting a single seed. Once the seed is in the ground, their job isn't to force the sprout to grow. Their job is to simply provide the conditions for growth: water, sunlight, and fertile soil. The growth is the natural, inevitable result of the initial act. Your transformation is the same. Once you put on your running shoes, you have planted the seed. Once you open the notebook, you have planted the seed. Your job is not to force the outcome. It is to simply perform the catalytic action and trust that the universe, your brain, and the momentum you've created will take care of the rest. This is not a passive act. It is the most active form of letting go. You are surrendering your need to control and choosing to trust the process. This is the ultimate freedom in personal transformation. When you stop fighting and start flowing, the universe meets you halfway. Life will happen. You will get sick. You will have a chaotic week. You will miss a day and then another and then maybe a third. This is where most people quit. They see the missed days as a sign of failure and abandon the entire process. But the catalyst effect has a built-in mechanism for this: the graceful return. The first rule of a graceful return is to refuse the voice of shame. The moment you miss a day, that little voice will say, "You failed. You're a fraud. Just quit now." This voice is a liar. A setback is not a failure. It is simply a data point. The goal is not a perfect streak. It is to return to the process. The catalyst you identified is still the key. It's still the easiest, smallest action. The moment you are ready, you go back to that one single action. If your catalyst was putting on your running shoes, you don't attempt a half marathon on your first day back. You simply put on the shoes. That's it. You cast the one vote that says, "I am back on my path." The second rule of a graceful return is to practice self-forgiveness. Say to yourself, "I got off track. That's okay. I am now back on track." You are not defined by your slip-ups. You are defined by your return. This simple act of returning gracefully is the ultimate form of resilience. It proves that your new identity is so solid that it can withstand the storms of life. Let's bring this all to life with a story. Meet Sarah. Sarah wants to change 3 things: her health, her career, and her creativity. Her quantum audit reveals her true desire is not just to lose weight, but to feel strong, capable, and alive. Her catalyst, simply to drink a full glass of water every morning immediately upon waking. This is her ignition point. It's so easy she can't say no. Her quantum stack: after the water, she stretches for 1 minute. Then she walks outside for 5 minutes. On a 0 day when she's sick, she only drinks the water. She never has a 0 day of effort. Within a month, the momentum is so strong that the thought of a workout feels effortless, not like a chore. She feels stuck in a job she hates and wants to start a business as a freelance graphic designer. The thought is overwhelming. Her catalyst, not to build a website or find clients. Her catalyst is to simply open a blank document on her computer and spend 5 minutes creating a single design element. That's it. Sacred inefficiency. Her quantum stack. She then saves the file, organizes it in a new folder, and sends a single email to a friend telling them what she's doing. This is her social witness in action. She is not focused on the outcome, but on the simple act of doing the work. Sarah also wants to be a painter, but she feels she has no talent. Her catalyst, not to paint a masterpiece. Her catalyst is to take a single tube of paint and put a single dot on a canvas. Generative surrender. That's the ignition point. Her quantum stack. She then grabs a brush and moves the paint around. She doesn't try to create a masterpiece. She simply engages with the process. The victory is not the painting. It is the act of showing up. Over time, these seemingly insignificant acts create an unstoppable momentum. Sarah's RAS is now tuned to notice freelance opportunities. Her body, fueled by water and movement, starts to crave healthy foods. She begins to see herself as an artist, a creator, a business owner. She is not fighting for these identities. She is simply living them one catalytic action at a time. The breakthrough becomes not a single moment of triumph, but an inevitable reality. She is the living proof that the grandest transformations are not built on Herculean effort, but on the power of a single tiny, insignificant act.